Hey, what's up, podcast? It's Jeff, and you're listening to a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk. This is audio pulled from a live stream that Rae did with the amazing Lindsay Titus, and they were discussing feeling certain in times of uncertainty. And this was a really, really powerful conversation. If you want to engage with us live when we do these live streams, you need to get into our Facebook group. Go to teachbettergroup.com or search for Teach Better Team on Facebook, and you'll find both our page and our group. So enjoy this special bonus episode, Feeling Certain in Times of Uncertainty, with Rae Hughart and Lindsay Titus.
Hey guys, it's Rae from the Teach Better team, and I am here with truly one of my favorite educators that I watch her Instagram stories every morning, and now I'm with her in like almost real life, Lindsay Titus. Lindsay, how are you doing?
I am doing fabulous. Good morning, everyone.
So fun. And Lindsay, this is something we have to like get into the story eventually of like why we're live, because this is such a topic that I'm excited about. This is all your idea, and you're just like allowing me to totally crash the party this morning, which I'm super duper honored. As people are coming in, Lindsay and I are just having a discussion. Like I was trying to phrase this morning as like truly a conversation, a little bit of a training mentality of like things that you're going to be able to take away right off the bat. But like this really is so much more than just us talking at you. We'd love to talk with you. So as you're getting signed in, please, I love the comments so far. So good morning to Amanda and Caitlin. So good to see you. Like, feel free to comment, say good morning, interact with us. Lindsay and I are both fun, energetic people, and we love when our people in the audience get to engage with us as well. So Nikki, Van, great to see you. Hey, Lindsay, I was just thinking about this. So you've been in the Teach Better family, I feel like forever, but you actually joined like during like recently, like during COVID, we connected, and then you just like blew up my life because you're so stinking smart and you just got insanely involved. So if people are popping in right now and they don't know you like as a person, could you give us like your bio? Like I know you've done a daily drop-in with us and you're now like a guest blogger, and let's just be honest, you do all the things. But if they don't know you, who is Lindsay Titus?
Yes, absolutely. So, it's like, where do you even start? I love those questions, but at the same time, it's like, where do you start? So I often start work. Work comes to mind first, because we live that. That is what I do all day. So during the school year, in all honesty, during the whole year, I am a behavior specialist for a local school district here in Rochester, New York, Western New York. And so what does that look like? That looks like me going across 10 buildings, kindergarten through 12th grade through seniors, working on anything related to behavior, which is really cool, but also it's a lot because there's so many things that come into behavior. So, but how I got there, started out in the classroom, started out as a special education teacher, then went and became a board certified behavior analyst, and really just loved behavior. So when I was coming home each night, I wasn't thinking about the academics. I wasn't thinking about the content. I was thinking about, that behavior is impacting his or her ability to get to the content, and what's going on, and why is this happening? And oh my goodness. And my brain was just kept getting, bigger and bigger with, I need to learn more. So I really kind of went more into behavior specialist consultation, and I realized through that journey that I had a whole lot of work on myself to do. So I kept trying to find the perfect strategy, the perfect thing out there that was going to work. And in all honesty, it's not out there. It was already in here. I just didn't know it. I didn't know that I was the missing tool in my toolbox, if you so to speak, right? So we always talk as educators, fill your toolbox, fill your toolbox. But if you aren't the first thing in your toolbox, everything is going to feel overwhelming because we're living in action mode only. And it took me a long time to get there. But once I got there, I was like, man, we were just chatting before coming on that it really does get to be easy. And part of things being easy is knowing this connection between mindset, language, and action. And I didn't know mindset and language, how important they were for such a long time. Once I did, Define University was born. So part of my other passion is coaching educators to define who you are as an educator. So I love to say you put the you in educator. And if you don't know who that is, we're going to feel like we're chasing something that always just feels just out of reach. And so instead, I'm going to bring it not only into reach with you, but you're going to own it, because that's what we do. So that's the work side of me. The personal side is family girl at heart. So I love being home with my family. We bought a home that has become our fixer-upper home, our renovation home. We've gutted it. Well, I say we, but really it's my husband. We have a 6-year-old daughter, Kaylee, a golden retriever, and we truly are just home. We have 15 acres that we live here, and we don't really go too far else, because we just enjoy being home. So that's kind of a little bit about me.
Wow, that's perfect, because truly, Lindsay, I know I'm not trying to be a stalker, so I'm trying to like behave myself right now, but like you share tidbits like this all the time. I don't know where they come from, but truly every single morning, like I just get fueled with like little nuggets of information from you. And I love that, because I really need to surround myself with educators that challenge me, that have a different perspective that they speak from. Your background education is so interesting to me. And one of the first times I feel like we truly interacted was during a daily drop-in. And for those of you who know, we went live every single morning, Monday through Friday, from like the middle of March till the end of the school year. And the whole goal was to like be there to facilitate conversation, to help educators. And it was so fascinating, because when you came on, people refer to your daily drop-in all the stinking time, because there were so many like tangible takeaways and also elements that really made you question like your entire life. And I tell people all the time, like we all have mentors, and some of my mentors like don't even know they're mentors because I stalk them on Instagram. And I feel like you're that kind of person where I'm like, Lindsay, I don't even think you know like how much I'm learning from you. And I'm so honored that we're taking this morning to kind of continue to share your expertise, because the work you're doing is so important, and it's in a realm that I feel like we don't talk about enough. And I'm such a fan. I'm try not to geek out, and I'm very confident that Dave Schmidt is going to be commenting about how I'm like fangirling out on camera. That's fine. So with everyone here though, Lindsay, I do want to tell a little bit of the story of why we're live, like what's our topic and where this came from, because it all started with an Instagram message that you sent me. Do you remember that?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, also a bit like, why are we live on July 22nd?
Yeah. So I think one of the, I guess it's a strategy, but one of the things I've learned over the last couple of years is to really be present in the moment. So in this present moment right here at 9:07 on the 22nd, this is where I'm at. My head is not thinking about anything that happened yesterday or up until this moment or the future. And I realized over the last 4 or 5 months how that's a skill that not everyone has yet, but it's a skill that everyone can absolutely learn. And I know that because I've learned it myself. Because see, what happens is so being present, I'm also aware of struggles and challenges that people are having. And what I was noticing as a common theme of stress and anxiety and worries that educators were having was uncertainty of fall, right? So what is fall going to look like? What does that mean for me as an educator? What do I do? What can I control? And I kept seeing strategies and posts about do this, do that, meaning action related. And I was like, hold on a second. If we act without the intention behind it, without the mindset and the language to match, we are literally on the hamster wheel of life, meaning we're doing all the things, but we aren't actually going to go anywhere. Our worries don't go anywhere. They actually only get faster. You think about a hamster wheel, it gets faster the more you go. And it's the same as like a merry-go-round, right? You might go up a little bit, you might go down a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're spinning in circles. And so I was either seeing that, or I was seeing people, the other analogy I'll use is like a roller coaster, right? They're here, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoosh, I'm there. But then they're like, I feel like I missed something in the middle. So I was thinking about it, and the phrase think better just kept coming to me. And it's no surprise why, because I love all that this team does. And, I think it's like a constant play on words for me. I love words. I love language. I just went live the other day and talked about it's the free resource that we don't often use, is the power of our words. And so I was like, you know what, I said, can I go live? Can we go live and talk about, how do we take these small steps to feel certain in an uncertain world? Because, well, and I'll get into that, but that was ultimately the gist of it. Is I saw so many people rushing to take action, which action is so important, but action without the mindset and the language behind it, we're going to feel like we're not getting anywhere because we're not actually getting anywhere.
And all that resonates with me. I'm so excited that we get to dive into really discussing this topic, because so many of us need this to really ensure that we are in the right mental space for the fall. And I won't lie, Lindsay, we were like, okay, so we're going to go live, but now you're going to start a Think Better blog series at teachbetter.com. Because guys, we have all these blog series, right? Like, you guys know, you go to teachbetter.com/blogs, and there's so many blogs there. And we have these incredible authors. We have the Reflect Better and the Think Happier and, the Teach Happier blog series and all this stuff. I'm like, Think Better needs to be a monthly blog series. So we're committing you to that, Lindsay, whether you are or not, because we all need to be challenged. And once a month is perfect, challenged to think a little bit better, just like we choose to grow a little bit every single day, right? The Teach Better mindset of better today than we were yesterday and better tomorrow than we were today. And everyone's better looks different, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But what I love so much, Lindsay, about learning from you is it really always does leave me thinking better. And I so value surrounding myself with people that challenge my thinking, because that's invaluable. So where do we even start with this? We're all in the midst of the end of July. We're all striving to do better, where the comments are filling up talking about this hamster wheel analogy. Oh my gosh, you're talking about the hamster wheel. I'm feeling the stress in my chest of knowing exactly what you're referring to. Where do we start this morning trying to help us all leave our session today thinking better?
Yeah. So, all right. So let's dive into this a little bit. So the first thing I want to say is, if you're on the hamster wheel, that is totally okay. But you also get to choose to step off the hamster wheel. So just because you are on something today does not mean you have to stay there. And so when I look at feeling certain in an uncertain world, whenever I have a big topic like that, or a big question, a big thought, the first thing I do is I literally look up the definitions to the words. Because if I don't know what the words mean, and I don't know what I'm associating, so how I define certainty and how you define certainty might be two totally different definitions. Yet what we're feeling could be the same, or it could be different. So for me, in order to understand how I truly feel about something, I have to know what that definition is. So when I look up certainty, it basically means the quality of being reliably true. Yet how many of us, if I had said, write down your definition of certainty, you would have said 100% true. It has to happen. It will happen. But even the definition doesn't align with that. Well, then uncertain, not going to lie, the first definition was the lack of being certain. I was like, okay, I got that part. Thanks. But really, it's this lack of sureness, lack of knowledge about a result or an outcome. The only thing that is certain in this world is something that has already happened. And I think when I realized that piece, I was like, well, okay then. The only way that I can say anything is absolutely certain is because it has happened. I don't know anything from, it's 9:13, so 9:14 on is all uncertain in my world. I could make guesses, I could make judgments, I could make assumptions, but at the end of the day, I only know what certain is behind me. So I use this then because certain is something I've already experienced. Well, the thing that then pops into mind is that what we actually want then? Do we truly want certainty? Because to me, full certainty is Groundhog's Day. Full certainty is living the same life over and over and over again. And I'm pretty confident to say, if you're a part of the Teach Better team, that's not what we're about. We're about owning uncertainty, because we know from uncertainty comes creativity. I will say uncertainty is your catalyst for creativity. Because if things were certain, we don't need to do something different. We don't need to be creative because we already know. So when I look ahead to uncertainty, it's now a standard that I've set for my life that I live for uncertainty. Because if things are certain, I'm not growing. And I know as an educator, that is my be all end all, is I want to continue to grow both personally and professionally, which is why I believe so much that it's who you are inside and outside of the classroom that defines who you are, not just by one role that you might serve.
Lindsay, I have to tell you, I go live frequently and I like being live. I'm comfortable being live. I'm comfortable being on camera. I am always so uncomfortable being on camera with you because I just feel like I'm going like this the whole time, like, boo, like the whole time. I'm like, I don't even know where she's going and I'm going to learn so much. And I'm just trying to soak it all in. And I mean that as the nicest compliment ever because there's like 15 mic drops in what you just shared. And people in the comments are eating it up. And to be honest, and Jeff Gargas is going to be critical. He's going to be like, Rae, don't forget to share the comments on the screen because we really want to engage with our network. But I can't share the comments and listen to you and absorb everything you're saying at once. So I just want you all to know, we see your comments streaming in. I just can't click on them because I'm thinking better. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Truly. Like how did like every single piece that you shared is so, we kind of talked about this again, it's coming up before we went live, but it's the idea of simplicity, right? Like everything you said was so easy to understand and yet so important for us to consider.
Yeah. I think we naturally make things more complex because I believe it's because we're always inundated with the new thing, the new technology, the new strategy, the new book, the new thing. And not that new is a bad thing, but the only reason that something's new is because we haven't done it before. So what makes something new came out of uncertainty. Somebody had a situation they weren't sure of, so they solved their problem by creating or doing, this quote unquote new thing. But what happens then is that our brain is always thinking, well, I need something more. I need something more. I need something more. And I did that for years. And that led to burnout. It led to frustration. It led to me like literally searching what can I do with an education degree? Because I was so stuck in, well, I'd gone to school for all these years and I needed to do something with it. And that's where, when you're using language like that, I should, that's what I call should know. And we're doing things because of somebody else, not because it's what we want. And I believe we all know within us right now what we want. But what happens is we get inundated with all this information in the outside world that we let the outside world create who we are. And my goal for every educator is to literally like break down that wall and realize the thoughts we have create the world we're living in. The inner thoughts create our outer reality. It's not the other way around, but we often think that because that's what we've lived for so long, right? So just to keep going, because I'm like,
well, yes, keep going, but I feel like I have so many elements of like one thing that's showing up in the comments so much. And by the way, people are making fun of me because I'm like thinking and they're like, Rae, your face is so funny right now and I'm super sorry. But one of the things I really loved is like embracing that uncertainty. And I want to go back to like some tangible ways that we can do that, but keep going, girl. I
will absolutely work back there. I absolutely will. I think one of the things that keeps coming to me is that, we want to reach the whole child, right? That's a current, I don't even call it a buzzword, but that is the current mission of education, right? At least for me, that's what I believe. But I believe in order to reach a whole child, you've got to be a whole adult. So it's whole adults reach whole children or the whole child. Because if I don't know who I am inside and outside of the classroom, then I quickly fall into what I call shouldville. I quickly fall into, well, this is what I should do. This is a belief that I have. And I think what happens is we find ourselves in uncertainty because we're living into a belief that doesn't actually secure with who we are. So I don't know that it's actually uncertainty that fears us. I think it's something bigger than that. I think it's safety. I think it's trust. I think it's, how do I take a risk? How do I show authenticity? How do I show vulnerability? Because the uncertainty part, I actually think is the easy part. Realizing uncertainty is my catalyst for creativity. How many educators want to be more creative? I know I did when I was in the classroom. So now if I can break down that belief of, oh, I actually don't want certainty because that's Groundhog's Day and that's boring. And I don't want to be. I want to keep moving, into my new levels, my uncomfortable levels. And so part of that, though, has to realize that I have to trust the decisions I'm making to step into this uncertain land, right? Trying new things, doing new things without having any really awareness of how it's going to go. How open am I to doing that?
Well, and so to trust the decisions you're making, right? To decide to move into an uncomfortable space for the risk of achieving greatness, right? What are some easy, simple supports I can put in place that don't necessarily make my challenging choice a certainty, right? It's still taking a risk, but it also gives me like some sort of comfort that me trying something new is going to result in it won't be horrible, right? It's like an okay thing. Do you have any things that I should be putting in my life to like make those decisions a little bit easier, like some comfort with them?
Yeah. So the one that I do, so I think a lot of people are familiar with things like a joy list or a results list. So I don't know if people are familiar, but basically, right, like we often forget to do things that are joyful, right? Because we're go, do all the things. And so, having that list. So I recommend for educators to have, I don't have a good name for it yet, so maybe someone can help me with that. But basically,
with the thing.
Yeah. So basically, they'll make a list of times in your past you have felt uncertain and you rocked it and you soared and you did amazing work. Because I could name, right now going to college, I had no idea what college was going to be like, but I rocked it. I'm here. I did amazing, right? Even when I met my husband, you have that moment of like, is he the one? Is this it? What is this going to look like? Having a kid, if anyone has a child, that is like the biggest land of uncertainty. What do I do? Overnight, I go from, taking care of myself to now I have a newborn crying at all ends of the night. So we've lived uncertainty before, but we don't often reflect on those moments because we're so in the present, and that's not a bad thing. But this is how you can use your past. I would say your past serves you, doesn't create, doesn't make you who you are today. It serves you, but write those down. So when you are feeling uncertain about the future, you can go back and say, no, you know what? I can do hard things. I can do uncertain things because look at all these and look at who I am today because I lived through those.
Okay, really quick. I love this idea because you're asking people to be intentionally reflective and not just reflective in an effort to like find a better way next time, but reflective in a way to say, look, you did it, right? Like not anything you would fix, but look all these times that were hard and look how far you came, right? Yes. So if you're willing in the comments right now, because they're still flying through, Lindsay, I can't even read all these because they just are coming through so fast on all these different streams that we're currently live on. But what I'd love you to do is to share a time in the comments or write it down if you want to keep it to yourself, where you were uncertain, made a choice, and had this amazing result. And Lindsay, you gave so many examples that are big, like life milestones and things like that. But I even think there's some really, really tiny eensy-weensy things that did result in just some beautiful positives. And so I would love to see some of those come through where people can share their stories of a reflection of life, of what was a time that I was uncertain, that I still chose to try something and take the risk and move forward, that came with a wonderful result that I can celebrate to say, hey, remember that one time you were uncomfortable and everything was wonderful? That should give you, that should fuel you. I love what you said, that should serve you to then do it again. And that's so incredible.
Yes. Because we may not, we have not been here before because it hasn't happened yet. So that's why, again, another strategy is to relate it back to the definition of the word. By having that simple, almost like trigger phrase of uncertainty means I haven't done it before. That's all it means. It's uncertain because I've never done it before. Well, then great. But what have you done before? Use your success, because success leads to confidence. And we know this for ourselves as well as for our students. If I can be successful, I'm going to boost my confidence. If I can be, then I'm going to be more successful to boost my confidence even more. The more that I do that, I'm building my momentum to feel confident in what it is I'm doing. But we have to then start at the beginning to say, where have I been successful? And you're absolutely right. It doesn't have to be a huge life-altering event. It can sometimes be trying a new recipe. It can be, right? Like I stepped outside of a genre of reading and I tried a different book or I did something different. So
I think that there's so many being shared, and so many of them are a mix of like those big decisions, like buying a house, to those small decisions as well. And I think that we kind of need to find a balance of both of those. Like if we only acknowledge the times that we took a risk, like when we had a child, then they seem really, really, really big. But in small ways, like you like sending me a direct message on Instagram probably took you a small amount of time to do. It was a super quick message, but it was a little bit of a risk. Maybe I wouldn't have seen it. Maybe I wouldn't respond. Like, no big deal. And then look, it's come into an amazing blog series. We're live. I mean, we're now just completely amplifying that idea, probably even beyond what you had originally thought. And so if we can find those small little moments, Joe Gonzalez is on here currently watching, and he messaged me being like, Rae, I really need some help with this. Okay, so great. So now Joe and I meet twice a week to talk through that area. And it's just that little bit of, hey, I'm just going to try this just to see, could come to so much support, so much celebration from others, so much, of a family that we're building, that you have to then be willing to say, okay, so that risk was totally worth it.
Right. I think it's recognizing that, what I would call like a big result, right? A big thing that happens only happened because you took small risks along the way. And that's why, I believe so much in celebrations, and people will say, well, I don't have anything to celebrate today. I'm like, did you get dressed? Did you brush your hair? Did you eat food? Did you drink some water? Did you smile? And they're like, well, yeah, but I said, there's no buts. It's, yeah, I did those things, because when you learn to celebrate every single thing you do, you recognize that any decision you make, and I'm talking what you decide for dinner or what you decide for your career field, it doesn't matter. Any decision is better than no decision at all. You can't get it wrong, because when you're making decisions based on who you are, what your values are, what your standards are, there's no right or wrong. And I think we quickly can fall into that all or nothing kind of trap. And, for me, it's the only thing that, I don't even like the word wrong, but the only thing that's wrong is if we stay exactly where we're at, which, if we go back to the topic of this conversation, is certainty. If I'm where I'm at, I'm living in a certain world. And then we know that's not fun, though. That's honestly boring. But it takes this is why I think mindset and language is so important. So if I don't understand this stuff, if I can't think better about it, then I'm just going to keep trying to find the next best thing. And the next best thing might not be the next best thing for me, but I won't know that if I haven't reflected on who I am and have that self-awareness for where I'm trying to get to.
Lindsay, I've loved everything you've shared so far. There's so many people that are sharing their successes, sharing a time that they took a risk. They're talking about how much they're connecting with this embracing uncertainty concept and everything in between. If we could directly relate this to the fall, like not to be completely black and white, but if we were like, okay, let's talk about August and September. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I think a lot of teachers listening are like, great. So what you're telling me, Lindsay, is I need to embrace uncertainty. I need to just be excited for August, even though I know that it's going to change 15,000 times before I actually get to meet my students. What would be like your biggest tip that directly correlates with like our uncertain times coming this fall that might put a teacher at ease, or that might challenge a teacher to think better?
Yeah. So, and the one thing you will learn from me, if you haven't already, is I am all about reflection over resources. So I don't believe it's something you have to go find. I believe it's something we reflect from within. So here are two things that just came to mind. So first is have paper and pencil with you at all times. Because once you start this process, once you start to think better, you can't stop. Your brain does not turn off. And the best thing we can do is get out of our own minds. We've heard that before, get out of our head. And by getting out of our head and literally just writing it on paper can sometimes make all the difference. So what I want you to focus on, though, is what those thoughts are. So if you are thinking, what if this happens in the fall? What if I can't do this? What if this happens? I want you to realize that that's just a worry about something that you're uncertain about. So bring it to the present day, and instead of what if, write what is, and focus on what is possible today. What is something you can do today that's going to then lead to tomorrow? Because what often happens is those what ifs are honestly, they're beliefs that we have. And to me, in working with a lot of educators, the belief that keeps coming up about where I'm at is that safety piece is the first one. But then the second is something basically like, can I still be an effective teacher if I'm not in a classroom, if I'm not in a physical location? And to me, that's a belief, because if my belief is I believe I have to be in a classroom to be an effective teacher, I would ask myself, is that absolutely true? Like with all of your heart, do you believe that to be true? Most people, I found have said no. Yeah. Does everybody believe that to be true? Right? Does every educator in the world believe I have to be in a classroom? No. And the last one is the most important. Does it serve me to believe that? And it doesn't. So then we get to rewrite that belief in the moment to say, I'm a fantastic educator no matter where I am. Location does not define who I am as an educator. I went into education to reach children and give children a voice, and I am going to make that happen this fall. So it's taking those thoughts and rewriting them through that reflective component of what can I do and essentially then what I can't, but I want you to focus on what you can. So right. The first is to keep that reflective outlet open and change your what ifs to what is and bring it back to this moment. The second thing is emotions are heavy. Emotions are heavy right now. Being scared and fearful, that is a real feeling you are feeling right now. Recognize that feeling, and instead of falling into shouldville, well, I shouldn't feel that way. You absolutely can feel that way. That's your emotion. But the thing I learned about emotions is they are meant to be felt. I think of emotions as energy in motion. So feel them. Say I'm angry. Say I'm scared. Say I'm nervous. But do something with it. Because when we put a name to it, we can do something about it, right? We do that with our students. Tell me specifically where you're stuck on this problem. What is it about the assignment that you're stuck on? What are you frustrated with? It's this. You can have that same conversation with yourself. What am I afraid of? Because once we know that, then we can take some action. So that's the connection between mindset, language, and action. Does that make sense?
It totally does. And I think so many people are embracing this idea. There's been a lot of comments so far, but really this idea of naming it so you can create a plan from it, is so important. And I know that I've heard that echoed before, but I think that it's so important for this fall that we continue to do that as we fall into these ruts of being uncomfortable, being uncertain. That's a very appropriate strategy to say, so then when that feeling comes about, let's do this. And then you can bring in your support system, your PLN, all the educators that are there to support you, that now that we've named it, now that we've identified it, what are we going to go do with it now? And a lot of that is getting support, brainstorming solutions, and just being there for each other more than anything, which put simply, I think that that's probably the best and easiest thing we should be doing for each other right now more than ever.
Right. And, the other thing I love values. Values are really important to me. I know Teach Better has values. Define You has values. I also have values as a person, right? Just as me, as Lindsay. And I think, what helps me remain certain is I know those values are within me no matter where I am. So no longer does my environment get to dictate who I am. I bring who I am to any environment, virtually, in person, wherever I am. So I would love to know in the comments a value that those of you watching and listening have, because that is something, put that value, I always say loud and proud, like put it on Post-its, put it on an index card, and put it anywhere you are. This is the time we want to, visuals are powerful. We use them in our classrooms. We can also use them for us. I have words all over my house, on mirrors. I have them in my car. I have them on my phone. I have them in different rooms in my home, because if I'm aware, it's realizing my inner thoughts create that reality, but my environment, it's going to either strengthen or cause worry to my thoughts. So they're related. It's not one or the other. So put those words, put that value, because no matter where you are, no one can take away who you are as an educator. You get to define that.
Yeah. And I love that. I can't wait to see the comments flowing in with all the values that people have. Lindsay, would you mind sharing a value or two that that are so important to you, that you have a Post-it note by your computer, you have a a reminder in your car. You have those little things so that when you fall into this maybe space of unknown, you see those and you're like, okay, wait, that's my focus. This is always a value that I have. It exists regardless of the situation. I can continue to go back to that and really speak from that space.
Yeah. So for Define University, I have 5. I'll share 2. 2 of my favorites are simplicity and community. Because to me, like I said, we break things down. When we can break behavior down, and this is our behavior or breaking it down with a student, when we can break a behavior down from this complex to this very simple thing that I can understand, this tangible step I can take, we're going to take it. Because as humans, we do the simplest task possible. But what happens is we stay in our heads and we make things a whole lot more complicated than they actually need to be. So break it down into one step. So I love simplicity because it's not, it's meant to be easy. Life is meant to be joyful. It's meant to be fun. It's not meant to be bombarded with stress and worries and anxiety. But those heavier emotions sometimes overpower who we are. So simplicity and then community. I lived for a really long time. Like you mentioned, I really kind of joined the team here in I don't even know, March, April, May.
Yeah,
not that long ago, because I was afraid. I was afraid not to reach out to this team specifically, but I really had in my head, like, well, again, I should be able to do this. I should be able to figure this out. I should know what I'm doing. I've been in the field 15 years. Of course I should know. And I lived in Shouldville. So having a community that trusts and isn't just going to be, what I love too is create a community that's both people that are going to cheer you on, but also people that are going to coach you up. You need both, right? You need both in your life. You can't just have people that are always ahead of you or you're going to be like, am I ever going to get there? But you also don't want people that are always, that not to where you are yet, because then you're going to stay flat too. It's having that mixture of cheerleaders and coaches and people that are outside of your scope so you can keep learning. That's why I love behavior. Because I connect with instructional coaches, I connect with teachers, I connect with admin, because my role, I work with everybody. I work with bus drivers, I work with lunch monitors, I work with paraprofessionals, because behavior is anywhere we are. So that's really, I love that piece. So a personal value though is, well, I already mentioned it gets to be easy. So kind of like this complex, like of stop making things complicated. And it only goes up from here. So it only gets to get better. So every day, I live, today, I live today, I learn today, and I'm going to grow today into tomorrow. And it only gets to go up. There's no more going back, because you can't go back. We bounce forward, we move forward, we build our momentum forward. And so for me, when I'm in this, oh my goodness, what is fall going to look like? And trust me, I have those fears too. My biggest thought right now, New York, we're doing actually pretty good with our number, good for comparison's sake. My concern is, I work and my daughter goes to different districts. So logistically, what does that look like? If we're hybrid, what does that look like? And my brain could go there. It has, but I quickly say, okay, so that's a what if. What if we are on different schedules? I can't control that right now. What I can control is what is. So what is I can show up live here today. What is I can spend time with her. What is I can write my thoughts out and reflect on what's the real fear here. What's the real fear? It's not really that we're on opposite schedules. It's how do I make it work? Is she going to be safe at school while I'm safe at home? What does this say about me being a mom if I have her go to school and I go to work? Those are the real fears. It has nothing to do with scheduling, but that's what comes first. So this is kind of the process, how you can take that value and it really becomes self-reflection on who you are. Because if you're aware, you can then take action. And that's where we talk about alignment.
Yeah. And I think it's so important because, and I'm just saying in a different way, a lot of the training that we've done in courses at Teach Better Academy, things like that, a lot of the elements of I share with coaches that are coaching teachers is that you always have to work to speak to the issue. And that's a term from business and blah, blah, blah. But the whole point is like, it's exactly the same model of an educator can come to you and say, I can't do this because, and really their fear that if is really rooted in something completely different than what they're actually saying they can't do or what they're fearful of or whatever. And you really need to work to kind of dive deep down and say, is this actually what you're concerned about? Or can we find the root of where this fear is coming from, the issue this fear is coming from, and work on that, because then everything else is going to percolate through. And so I think that so quickly and so easily relates to every educator that's listening now who wants to find the solutions to things that don't have solutions yet. And so if we can only really focus on what's the issue, then we can speak to it, we can name it, and we can work together to process through it day by day by being extremely present, which I love, Lindsay. You've shared so much insight with that. I know that people, you're really challenging our thinking today, and that's what we needed. We talk about like cheerleaders and coaches, and I won't lie, Lindsay, I feel like you're both for a lot of people on the team. Like the Teach Better team, I think it's filled with people who love to be cheerleaders, but also love to be coaches. And you fit that meld so much because every time we talk, you are challenging my mindset, you're challenging my thinking. But then also I know that when I reach out to you or share something, you're also like, yay, Rae, keep going, and that is so beautiful. And so the more people we can find that do that for us, the more successful we're going to be, which is exactly aligned with what you shared earlier.
Yes. And I think to piggyback off of that is, if you know or think you know what you can't do, I'm going to challenge you that I think you also know what you can do. We just happen to focus on what we can't do because our brains naturally are wired for survival mode. We've heard, we know that for thousands, millions of years, our ancestors, it was survival. So we live, fear was actually a survival tactic. Well, now it's really, is it fear because of a fear of an unknown, or is it true fear? And if it's true fear, that's a whole totally different conversation. It's not what we're talking about today. But we're talking about this fear of the unknown, and how do I make that more known? We reflect, we write down what our thoughts are, we understand what the true belief is, and recognize that our beliefs stem from childhood. So this is not something that, is just, well, I thought of it last week. This is some bigger things, bigger than that. One for me, a belief for me was always perfection. I have to do things perfectly. If I don't get 100, and it still creeps up. It still creeps in. I mean, you talk about like you guys are fans of mine, and I am learning so much from all of you right now with the whole standards-based grading and things, because I even find myself, so I'm in classes right now, and I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm still like, oh, how many points is this worth? So, and I know that's not right? Like, I know it's not serving me, but it's because I have this belief from childhood that good grades define who I am. That so even me who does this daily, that's why this work is never done, which for some can be scary, but for me, it's like, yes, what am I going to learn today? Like, I wake up every day. What is the meaning of today? I can't wait to find out. Thank you for teaching me today, because every single day you're going to learn something about yourself. If you're open to understanding, okay, I don't think I can do this, I can't do that, but then what can I do? Because either one is right. It's just, we know that where our focus is every day, right?
I love that shift of, rather than identifying what you can't do, if you're going to claim you know that, then we need to start thinking about what we can do. And I think that's actionable, right? That's something that like right now you can say, I feel like I can't do this. And so you're already naming it as like, oh, not sure. Right. But then great. So if I know that, and that's the bubble, then what's outside of that I can easily be like, but I can do that. And I totally feel comfortable and can take that risk. And I have the support systems to do these things. That's a huge asset for what we're going through right now in education and throughout the world.
Right. And do that for fall, right? So if I think some people are now knowing, I keep seeing from a bunch, you're going to be virtual. So, okay, so the first things that come to mind are, great, I can't do that activity. I can't do that. I can't do that. So, okay, but don't stop there. Write those down. And then what can you do? So I think it's not about recreating, when things become uncertain, it's not about recreating the wheel. It's not about doing all new things, because that's going to lead to overwhelm. That's going to lead to all the thoughts. And so instead, what do you typically do? And then how do you shift that to a virtual lens? Or how do you shift that? And sometimes if it's not an easy, I can't think of an example, but if it's not an easy swap, why did you do that? Go to the why, right? Go to the purpose. Why did you do that activity? So it's probably, my guess is it's you love it. It connects with your students. You feel confident in it. Great. So find an activity you love. You're going to connect with your students and you're confident in doing, and do that instead. There's so many things we do in the classroom we can shift. And if you're not comfortable with it, that's exactly what we're talking about here. Use that like uncomfortableness, whatever the word is, to become that catalyst for creativity. So that's why I love this work, because we've talked about a lot of things, But at the end of the day, they all come back to the mindset you hold, the thoughts you have, and the words you use to describe it, to talk about it. And at the end of the day, the one thing I always have with me is my mind and my words, right? I don't always have the tool, the tangible tool. I don't always have, and I see that in classrooms. Well, I don't have the token board. I lost this. I can't find that. I'm like, but you got your mind and you got your words, and you can do things. We just have to remain present enough in the moment to realize, where do I need to shift? What do I need to do? And so I think we can do that for fall too. Start small, start simple, and keep it strategic. The strategy is keep it about you. Who are you? Highlight who you are as an educator, because when you live into, remember, that whole adult, you're going to reach the whole child. I believe that to be true.
Oh, Lindsay, you've shared so many nuggets of information. The comments, while they've been consistent the whole time through, the most consistent comment that's caught my eye from the beginning is, I need to listen to this again. And like right now we're live, but when this is just a recording and becomes like a bonus episode of Teach Better Talk podcast or whatever, people are going to be going through, just like we teach our students to pause, rewind, fast forward, and continue to get this nuggets of information. I do want to make sure, Lindsay, though, that people don't just stop here, right? So we just listened, you just learned for 45 minutes. And you can take all that in and you can use this to fuel your day. And I love it, I love it, I love it. But then tomorrow or next week, when all the uncertainty begins to bog you down and you can't find that same empowerment that you may have gotten from Lindsay this morning, what are you going to go do about it? And I really would love, Lindsay, if you could share. I know you share so many resources to educators, but where can people connect with you? Where can they continue to consume your content? Obviously, there's been a few videos with the Teach Better team, but you have so much you're doing outside of even just our network here. Where can they find you to continue to soak up this goodness? Because what I'd like for them to do, Lindsay, is to put it in their daily routine, to like pop in with Lindsay, learn a little bit, continue to get some food for thought. Like I have people I do that with every morning, and they set me in the right direction for the rest of the day. And you are just amazing, one of those people. So would you mind sharing a little bit of information on that?
Absolutely. And I think that's so true. I think everything you just said is so true. We have to prepare for tomorrow. So we live today, but we have to get ready for tomorrow, because right now, as you're soaking this in, it's like, yes, I can do it. But this is where your focus is. So when life takes over tomorrow, an hour from now, a day from now, a week from now, how are you going to hold yourself accountable? Because that's what I do as a coach. It's not me telling you what to do. And I don't believe anyone should ever tell you what to do, because it's your life. But it's having that accountability where someone to say, I did it yesterday with an educator. She was talking about what she had to do. I have to do, she posted something. I have to do this. And I messaged right back and I said, change that lingo. You're choosing to do this because of the end result. Change your words. She was like, you're so right. And we had an amazing conversation. So yes, I love that. So please reach out. So Facebook here, it's just, you can search for me, Lindsay Titus. Instagram is a little different. It's Lindsay.Titus828. And then Twitter, I have not like made them all the same yet, but Twitter is LTitus828. I will say all of the info about kind of Define University and things I offer, what I do, is on my website, which is defineuniversity.com. So YOU University. You'll find links to the podcast. There's freebies every week, services, all good stuff. So I think those are the main ways. But Instagram is where I most am, but I'm also trying to be more present on Twitter and Facebook too. So,
well, and that's hard, Lindsay, because every single network and platform has their own people, has their own kind of like process. And so you got to start somewhere. So I love that you continue to share so much on Instagram. That's where I consume a lot of your content. And then I know having these other outlets, whether it be slowly creeping into Facebook and Twitter, and obviously the podcast is a massive one. People just need to find their niche where it's simple to connect with you, and then they'll just consume it as they go. And hopefully they continue to not just be consumers, but then also participate in what they're learning and include you in their victories and hurdles and everything in between as we continue to navigate this uncertain time, which I just really appreciate about you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I think I created Define You to be a platform. So just like we change things in our classrooms for all teachers, I didn't want one way, right? So if you like to listen, you got, stories or podcasts. If you like to read, honestly, that's kind of where the Teach Better blog, blogging kind of came from. If you want that coaching, that's available too. So I think having different levels. So wherever you're at on your journey, there's definitely some capacity to grow. And I just think it's so important. And I just saw, you know, I don't want to wrap it up. I just saw Van's comment about getting parents to understand, you know, children need to struggle to be challenged in order to grow and learn. And, you know, it's funny, I do this for a living. Obviously, this is what I do as part of my career. And I still have to remind myself with my daughter at home. So it's so that piece. And I think, you know, even looking at that word need, it's how do we have parents understand that their children, you know, what the benefits of those things are. So, you know, again, and I think a lot of that comes from modeling. A lot of that comes from sharing our stories. A lot of that comes from being vulnerable to ask the questions and listen to the feedback and listen to what's being said, not how it's being said. And recognizing that, you know, power struggles, just we'll kind of end with this, power struggles don't happen in private. Power struggles happen because of the impact of an audience, because I don't want to look bad in front of whoever I'm with, and you don't want to look bad in front of you. It's, you know, if it's a teacher and a student, it's the teacher doesn't want to look bad in front of the kids and the kid doesn't want to look bad in front of their peers. If you have that conversation in a private location, you still might have anger, you still might have emotions, but it's not that power struggle because you're not in it to win it. You're not in it. A power struggle is a competition. So take the competition part out, take the audience apart, and make it about a private connection between you and that person. And it's going to dissipate the power struggle that much quicker.
Great suggestion, Lindsay. I love all these tips. I hope you guys all choose to go connect with Lindsay and the amazing insights she continues to share with all educators every day, literally all the time. So she's an incredible contact. Lindsay, we're so excited for everybody to hopefully watch and rewatch this live video, but also become active readers in your monthly blog series that will be coming to teachbetter.com called Think Better. So we can all challenge ourselves often to think better every single day. And we so appreciate you taking so much of your time this morning just to like completely mic drop every piece of information that you had. I cannot wait to continue to share this with all of my friends in my network and just continue to celebrate all that you have to share, because you're an incredible educator. I so admire you, and I just really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much. It has been a blast. I could talk about this for days, so I so appreciate everybody that hopped on, everybody for interacting, and it's been an amazing morning. So thank you so much.
So fun. All right, everybody else, we will see you later. Have an amazing day, and hopefully Lindsay started you off with some great food for thought, and we will see y'all later.